The Netherlands have always been able to look on generations of amazing talent. If that's not from the total football era of Johan Cruyff, to Ruud Gullit, to Frank Riijkard, to Van Nistelrooy, to players like today of like Frankie de Jong and Memphis Depay and upcoming talent. Hey guys, we talk football here, and today we look at a question that many football fans have posed themselves. Why have Netherlands never won the World Cup? After a notable absence from the tournament between 1950 and 1970, Holland burst onto the scene in a spectacular fashion in 1974. Feyenoord and Ajax were dominating Europe playing total football, a movement on the field which promoted organizational flexibility on the field. Feyenoord won the European Cup in 1970, while Ajax claimed the biggest domestic prize in Europe in football in 1971, 72, and 73. The Amsterdam side's talisman was a precious forward. You may have heard his name, Johan Cruyff, and they managed to play total football by the forefather, Rinus Michels. The Netherlands cruised through the 1974 group stages and maintained a 100% record in the second round, earning a place in the final against host West Germany, who boasted Franz Beckenbauer, Uli Hoeneß, and Gerd Müller. The stage was set for Orange to upset the host and fabled rivals with their dazzling style, but it simply wasn't to be. The Netherlands had their second bite of the cherry in Argentina in 1978 under Ernest Happel. Reaching the final once again, they faced the hosts for the second consecutive tournament, and they fell at the most important hurdle once again. They blamed the clinical tactics from the Argentinians, but little could excuse the fact that they had squandered two opportunities to bring the trophy home. Total football was totally absent in the 1980s. Marco van Basten was enjoying red-hot form with Ajax, but legendary striker's talents were not seen on the biggest stage. As the national team failed to qualify for the World Cup in 1982, 1986, the European Championship of 1984, Rinus Michels returned for Euro 88, and Van Basten shined as the Dutch lifted their first and only major tournament trophy. But at the World Cup, 2 years later, they struggled to get out on their group and were dismissed at the quarterfinal stage by eventual winners West Germany. Fast forward to France 98, where the Dutch were heavily fancied, thanks to the squad included Mark Overmars, Dennis Bergkamp, Edgar Davids, the De Boer brothers, and Patrick Kluivert. They met Argentina in Marseille in the quarterfinals, but even Dennis Bergkamp, scoring one of the greatest goals of all time, couldn't keep them from being sent home. If Holland never had to play Argentina or Germany, things could have been very different. And this brief history of Dutch disappointment leads to the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. After a thoroughly impressive qualification campaign in which Bert van Marwijk's side had maintained a 100% record, the Orange conceded just 5 goals on their way to the final, where they met fellow serial underachievers Spain. One of those teams was destined to make up for the decades of unfulfilled potential by winning their first World Cup. And of course, as we all know, the momentum of Vincent Del Bosque's Spain, whose dominance has barely faltered since. Holland may have lost the World Cup, but they wrestled the World Cup Underachievers trophy away from the Spanish. Expectation was high after making the final in South Africa, but once again, the Dutch followed a tournament in which they had finished runners-up with a forlorn campaign. They were in number 1 position in the FIFA rankings in August 2011 and finished Euro 2012 qualifying with a 100% record. But they couldn't have capitulated it any quicker. In their tricky tournament group, going from Poland and Ukraine with 3 losses on the board. You must think, with the likes of Cruyff, Van Basten, Gullit, Riijkard, Seedorf, Neskins, the De Boer brothers, Davids, Bergkamp, and Kluivert having pulled on the famous orange jersey over the years, it's quite a shock that they have never won a World Cup. They may not be proud of it, but there is many more generations to come for this Netherlands team, and many more opportunities at the Covenant Gold. But I think that's all we got time for today. Let us know, are the Netherlands the biggest underachievers in World Cup history, or in national history even? We'll see y'all next time.